On August 26, the Japanese Ministry of Defense extremely rarely posted a remarkable emergency message of Chinese aircraft INV Adinji Japanese airspace in the form of a conspicuous red frame reminder on the homepage of its official website. This message clearly pointed out that on the morning of August 26, a Y-9 intelligence-gathering aircraft from China was alleged to have been considered as invading the airspace of Japanese islands for as long as 2 minutes. In this situation, the Japanese Air Self-Defense Force reacted quickly and immediately scrambled a fighter jet to issue a warning to the Y-9 aircraft. Moreover, the Japanese side also lodged a resolute protest with Chinese diplomats. So, in this case, did China's Y-9 aircraft really invade Japan's airspace? What is the purpose of the Y-9 aircraft's flight this time? According to the detailed description of the Japanese Ministry of Defense, this Y-9 aircraft took off from the direction of China around 10:40 in the morning. It began to circle in the southeastern airspace of the male and female islands. These islands are in a special geographical location. They are located about 150 kilometers southwest of Nagasaki City and are composed of 5 major uninhabited islands. Around 11:29 in the morning, this aircraft entered the so-called airspace from the east of the islands. Then it turned left to the southeast. Subsequently, at a certain specific moment, it left this airspace. Immediately after that, this aircraft circled over the southern sky of the islands again. Finally, around 1:15 in the afternoon, it flew in the direction of China. The Japanese side claimed that before the Y-9 aircraft was alleged to have violated airspace, a fighter jet of the Japanese Air Self-Defense Force had already scrambled and notified the Y-9 aircraft that it was too close to the airspace. However, the Y-9 aircraft did not pay any heed and continued to fly until it left. In fact, when we carefully observe from the flight path published by Japan, the so-called claim that the Y-9 invaded Japanese airspace should be that short section of the flight path framed in blue in the above picture. The Japanese side believes that the area 22 kilometers outside the male and female islands is all its airspace and territorial waters. Therefore, when the Y-9 aircraft entered the airspace within 22 kilometers of the male and female islands within these 2 minutes, it was regarded by the Japanese side as an act of invading Japanese airspace. However, this situation only lasted for a short 2 minutes, and it was still passing by brushing the so-called airspace boundary. Generally speaking, this situation does not rule out the possibility of a false alarm in the Japanese monitoring system. However, even if it is really not a false alarm on the part of Japan and it is true that the Y-9 entered the airspace within 22 kilometers of the male and female islands, it absolutely cannot mean that the Chinese Air Force is invading Japanese airspace. You should know that at the Potsdam Conference on July 26, 1945, the Potsdam Proclamation signed and announced by China, the United States, and the United Kingdom clearly and in detail stipulated that the territory of defeated Japan is only Honshu, Hokkaido, Kyushu, and Shikoku. And we can clearly see from the flight path map of the Y-9 published by the Japanese Ministry of Defense that the flight path of the Y-9 aircraft did not touch the line representing the airspace of Kyushu on the right. Therefore, even if the Y-9 entered the 22-kilometer airspace of the male and female islands, it has nothing to do with Japan at all, because that place is simply not within the territory of Japan. This is the strict definition of Japanese territory in the Potsdam Proclamation. Those who do not know can completely go and carefully consult relevant historical documents to clarify this important historical fact. However, rather surprisingly, no matter how hard Japanese or Western media try their best to hype up the topic of Chinese military aircraft invading Japanese airspace, high-ranking government officials such as the Japanese Defense Minister, the Chief Cabinet Secretary, and the Chief of Staff of the Self-Defense Forces have extremely consistently given a cautious response of, "It is difficult to give a clear answer to the key question of the intention of Chinese military aircraft. It is no exaggeration to say that although Japan, on the one hand, actively cooperates with the United States in hyping up any topic related to China's military expansion and tries to create a tense atmosphere in the international public opinion field, at the same time, it also wants to carefully grasp the degree of pressuring China because they are very worried that they will accidentally become China's venting target and fall into an even more passive situation. So, since the Y-9 did not invade Japanese airspace, why did it deliberately circle in the airspace near Kyushu, Japan? This Y-9 is called an intelligence collection aircraft by the Japanese side. As early as 2017, foreign countries accidentally discovered its existence through satellite images. In 2019, China officially announced that this aircraft was put into service. Currently, this special aircraft with the code name GAO XIN-12 is generally called Y-9DZ by the outside world, which is the abbreviation of electronic reconnaissance in Chinese. Thus, it can be seen that its main task is to perform a series of important tasks such as electronic surveillance, collecting signal intelligence and image intelligence in the target airspace through advanced sensor and communication systems. With its advanced sensor system and radar system, it can even excellently complete the collection of strategic intelligence and provide strong support for national security and strategic decision-making. The Japanese self-defense forces first discovered this aircraft flying over the Boshi Channel on June 8, 2023, circling east of Taiwan Island and then returning by the same route. Coincidentally, on that day, Japan, the United States, and France were holding a joint exercise east of Okinawa. The United States dispatched a dual aircraft carrier formation consisting of the USS Ronald Reagan and the USS Nimitz, as well as 12 warships including the Japanese Self-Defense Forces helicopter carrier Izuma. It is not difficult to imagine that with the high-performance data signal collection equipment possessed by the Y-9DZ, it must have collected a lot of valuable data from this relatively large-scale joint naval exercise between Japan and the United States, and this time, the Y-9DZ deliberately lingered for a long time in the sea off Kyushu. It is estimated that it has taken a fancy to the relatively dense US and Japanese bases here. For example, Sasebo has a large naval base for the US military and the Japanese Maritime Self-Defense Force. Kazuchi, a city in Fukuoka, is the location of the headquarters of the Western Air Commando, the Japanese Air Self-Defense Force. Nidahara Base in Miyazaki is the largest base of the Japanese Air Self-Defense Force. There are usually two F-15J flight teams stationed there, and it will also receive US FA-18EF or F-35B that arrive temporarily. In addition, large civil airports in Kyushu and surrounding areas also began to become alternative landing airports or Japanese Air Self-Defense Force military aircraft after the main base was attacked at the end of 2023. And a live aircraft drill was conducted at the end of that year. Thus, it can be seen that since the entire Kyushu region is relatively close to China and the Taiwan Strait region, the troops deployed here by the US and Japan have the advantage of quick intervention. Therefore, in addition to building many dedicated US and Japanese land, sea, air bases here, many civil airports and ports have also been included in the military category. Therefore, the Y-9DZ's frequent activities in this vicinity are very likely to be collecting electronic signals emitted by these US and Japanese bases. This kind of practice of collecting the other party's intelligence information right in front of their faces is done in hundreds of times a year by various types of reconnaissance aircraft of various branches of the US military against China. At the closest, It is only a dozen or 20 kilometers away from China's coastal land, judging from the situation reported by Japanese journalists on the Y-9DZ's reconnaissance of the US-Japan exercise in 2023. It is possible that the Y-9DZ had approached within a 500-kilometer range of the exercise's core area at that time. This means that the Y-9DZ can at least effectively monitor the electromagnetic signals of the target from 500 kilometers away. Based on this speculation, if calculated from the center of the circling flight of the Y-9DZ in the airspace near the male and female islands as announced by Japan this time, within a 500-kilometer range, not only can all US and Japanese military and civil signals in the entire Kyushu region be easily monitored, but even a large range of electromagnetic signals as far as Honshu and Shikoku can be collected according to foreign media reports. The Y-9DZ is equipped with a synthetic aperture radar antenna under the front fuselage, which can obtain high-resolution ground mapping photos. Two large rectangular electronic intelligence antennas are installed on both sides of the rear fuselage. A satellite communication antenna is installed above the middle of the fuselage. An oval antenna is installed above the vertical tail. And a weather radar system is installed in the spherical bulge at the nose. In addition, the rear fuselage cone of the Y-9DZ may also be equipped with an unknown radar. Military experts speculate that the Y-9DZ should be able to perform a variety of special tasks, including psychological warfare, electronic jamming, electronic countermeasures, electronic warfare, and real-time monitoring in terms of psychological warfare aircraft. China originally had the Gao Xian-7, which is a special aircraft modified on the Y-8 airframe. Its main ability is to use its own high-power electronic equipment to suppress enemy television stations, radio stations and wireless communication networks, and spread false information to them, so as to achieve the purpose of disrupting enemy stability and cooperating with the frontal battlefield. In fact, this is China's imitation of the Ek-130J psychological warfare aircraft equipped by the U.S. military since the 1970s, although the U.S. military only equipped 6 of these aircraft. From Southeast Asia in the 1970s, to the Persian Gulf in the Desert Shield and Desert Storm operations in the 1990s, and then to Libya in the Odyssey Dawn operation in 2011. Remarkable results have been achieved, however, since China modified the Gao Xian-7 about 10 years ago. The psychological warfare aircraft seems to have not been upgraded. However, judging from several prominent antennas on the side of the Y-9DZ fuselage, it is possible that this aircraft has integrated the psychological warfare function of the original Gao Xian-7. After all, the Y-9DZ was originally equipped with a large number of electronic countermeasure equipment, so it is not difficult for it to part-time as a psychological warfare aircraft that can suppress and modify enemy communication and audio-visual signals, publicize the island recovery policy to the vast number of people on the island, and spread commands or intelligence that can disrupt the operations of its defenders, so as to achieve the purpose of cooperating with the frontal troops in combat. Therefore, the Y-9DZ should have reaped a lot from this operation. It is very likely that all the US and Japanese military signals over Kyushu on that day have been scooped up by it.